Yes, now we have a new chapter, Lesson 14. Now, before we start reading, the first thing we have to do is establish a setting of this article. You ask yourself, what is the topic? As you can see here, the topic is the dirt under your feet. Now, what is dirt? Dirt is something that is highly unpleasant to keep around you. Dirt, opposite of from being clean. Anything that we like to keep away from. Under your feet. So, having the title clear in our mind, we can then look at pictures that are on the page. What's this? What are these? These are basically bacteria. Now, bacteria like these, we prefer to keep away from them. So, based on what we can see so far, we'll be reading about something that we prefer keeping away from, that we think are unclean, that are related to something in the ground. And we can go on a bit more and look at other pictures that are here. Now look at this page. You can see other bacteria or tiny particles on the opposite page. So we have a basic idea of what we're about to read, something that's related to things that are unclean, things that we like to keep away from, things that we would say that is unacceptable to be around. But life is that way. You'll be around particles and things that you feel that is not appropriate around you, but have some set scientific effects which are good. Now let's go, and we're going to read through this article and get context clues about the words that are in the article. Now let's go. On this page we have the word we have the highlighted words such as infection. Another word we have category, decompose, we have fungus, we have parasite, we have seek, and so forth. Sorry, seek and host. This is host. Yes. So we're going to get the context clues from the paragraph that will tell us the meaning of the words. In a few minutes after completing this, we're going to go into the exact meanings of each word, but the purpose of this exercise is to take context clues from the sentence itself about the meaning of each highlighted word. Now let's go. So we're going to read this and we're going to extract the meanings of the words through context clues. So let's read. The dirt under your feet. Did you know that the dirt beneath your feet is teeming with life? When you step outside by yourself, you probably think you're alone. You're not. In the dirt below your feet are billions of living organisms that are very important. Bacteria Bacteria are single-celled organisms. Some cause infection and make us sick. So the first word we have here is infection. What's the meaning of infection? Based on the context clues that we have in the sentence. Here it's a single-cell organism. Organism, you might not know the meaning, but coming from an organ. We can go on. Some cause make us sick. Now, keep in mind, some, that's more than one, cause the reason, cause some reason, infection, we don't know, but we can get the meaning from other words in the sentence. So we can say, make us sick. Now, the word sick, does this have a good meaning? Sick is opposite from being healthy. So we can say that reasons that cause us to be sick, reasons that threatens our health. So keep in mind, infection, something that has a bad effect upon our health, makes us sick. So at least we're getting meaning of the word infection through words that are around this word in the sentence. So sick, something bad to your health, some causes, some reasons why we get sick. So let's move on. However, most are helpful, including those underground. Scientists suggest that a teaspoon of dirt may contain a billion bacteria. They are part of a category of living things that help decompose dead plants and animal materials. Now let's go. What's the meaning of category? We can get a general understanding by looking at the words. For example, they are part of category. Now, they are part meaning that's a section, so category from this would extract that. It's a big portion of something. This thing has smaller section within it. So category, a big compilation of different sections inside. So let's go to another word, which is decompose. Now, what can help us to understand the meaning of decompose? Well, it says the living things that help dead plants and animal materials. So, decompose, keep in mind that the sentence has living things which help decompose dead plants and animal material. So, there's a breakdown of something in this sentence. Decomposing, the reducing or the decreasing of a particular organism or particular particle, living things that help dead plants and animal material. So what happens to a dead plant? It gets smaller and smaller, shrinks until you cannot see it. So it's a breakdown. So decomposing, based on this, meaning the breaking down of something, making smaller, dissolving so that you cannot see. Because here it says they're part of a category. Category having a big compilation of something with smaller sections within. So these smaller sections get reduced to smaller parts, which would indicate that decomposing means a reduction, reducing of a bigger compilation of parts. Then let's go to the other word, which is one consequence of this. One consequence of this, and we have here consequence. One consequence of this process is that the 1 minute. one consequence of this process is that the nutrients in this dead material are recycled. So one consequence of the process, nutrients in the dead materials recycled. Now we can say process, that these are stages, progress, stages of a situation, nutrients relating to the goodies of a particular article or particle, dead material, so they're dead and recycle, something that goes back again. So recycle. So keep this in mind. Recycle nutrients in these dead materials, process. So we can say from the sentence, consequences that mean a drawback in the situation. One consequence of this process is that the nutrients in dead particles, dead materials are recycled. So there's a change, recycling. There's a change of something happening, and they say one consequence, something that's a negative. Okay, so we're just getting a general idea of what's happening. So we have here infection, which means something bad relating to the sickness of someone. Categories, having a big portion of something and within your small sections. Decomposing, making smaller, reducing the material to something less. Consequence, something that happened out of the normal recommended process of anything when there's a recycling. So sequence, something bad happening according to this, because recycle is considered good. And consequence, something that's happening out of proportion, out of the unknown, or out of the regular circumstances. Now let's go. The dead material is broken apart and returned to the dirt, and ultimately it feeds the plants and animals. Good. Now let's move on. Fungi. A fungus is also a single-cell organism. Here it says fungus, single-cell organism. So, based on these, fungus is being explained by single-cell organism. So, we can say that a fungus is one section of other sections, or a big item of, or something that's even bigger. So it's a small section of something bigger, a single cell organism. So if we have more than one, we can say fungi, which is plural, okay, based on the single. Now let's go on. There are almost as many fungi. There are almost as many fungi below our feet as there are bacteria. Often you can find one that acts like a parasite, feeding off the roots of a plant. Now look, parasite, feeding off. Now, it says feeding off the roots of other plants. Is feeding off the roots of another plant something good? No. So we can say parasite is related to something negative. It's like eating off someone else's property. So here, based on this, we can say parasite, taking something from others which is not yours. Now, let's go. That fungus also benefits the plant that acts as its host by helping the plant absorb water and nutrients. So look, that fungus also benefits the plant that acts as its host by helping the plant absorb water and nutrients. So here, host is someone that is considered to be the head of a family or an organism in this case. Since we're speaking about animals and plants, we can say that an animal. So we can say this is the head, which nutrients is observed from. So nutrients is taken from the host, and the parasite is the one that extracts these nutrients from the host, which is the plant. So basically, we can take this from the sentence. Now, let's move on. Worms. Some worms seek bacteria and fungi to eat. Seek. What's it, no seek? So, as we can see from the previous sections of this article, is that certain organism or bacteria aims at searching for nutrients which can be taken from other animals, other plants. So here, some worms seek bacteria and fungi to eat. So seek, when someone is hungry, what do? They go out and they look for something. So seeking, we could say that they search for food, they seek food, and so forth. And this is coming from context. Now let's move on. Contain thousands of them. 1 minute, okay. Some worms seek material and fungi to eat. And we said that, sorry, let me just. Yes, seek material, bacteria and fungi to eat. These worms are so small and nearly microscopic that a handful of soil may, yes, there weren't any other, may contain thousands of them. Other worms, however, are larger but equally plenty. An acre of land may contain 1,000,000 or more earthworms as they consume. This is another word that we should look at. As they consume an estimated 10 tons of dead plants material. So as they consume an estimated 10 tons of dead plant material. Now, what's the meaning of consume? Now, from the previous lines, we can see that plants take nutrients from other plants, or bacteria take nutrients from other plants. Now here, it says plenty an acre of land contain 1,000,000 or more earthworms. And earthworm is an organism, small, tiny animal or organism that feeds on other plants. And that has been highlighted through the text before. Always remember, when you're looking for context clues, you have to build on what is before. So here it says, as they consume an estimated 10 tons of dead plants material. Now, based on this, consume would be close to the meaning of taken in, because they say estimated 10 tons of dead plant material. Nothing is wasted on the land. Everything feeds off something. It's a recycling process. When you have a dead plant, other worms or other organisms feeds off of them. So here, as they consume an estimated 10, so consume would be like take in, to feed on. Now let's move on. Guys, do not worry. We're going to go into the words specifically in a few minutes. So we're just taking context clues, have a better understanding of what the the article is about, and we're building or understanding. So let's move on. Yeah, so we have here, these earthworms break apart the soil so more oxygen and water can reach living plants. The impact of worms on soil and crop development is enormous. Now, the impact of worms. The impact, let me just underline the impact. What's the meaning of impact here? They said of worms on soil and crops development is enormous. So when we see the word, when we say the word impact based on the all the words in a sentence, development. So it's something happening, something interacting, something that has an effect. So worms are somewhat beneficial to the general upbringing of soils and nutrients that is converted throughout the soils. So here, the impact of worms on soil and crops development is enormous. So the impact, something that has an effect, something that has a positive or negative repercussion to a process. So the impact of worms on the soil, meaning having an effect or is affected in one way or the other. Here it says, other critters, insects, spiders, snakes, mice, and moles are also found underground, along with bacteria, fungi, and worms. They help from an intricate underground food chain. Creatures each other creatures, which are in turn eaten by other creatures. So it's a recycling process ongoing. Each organism is benefiting from another. Nothing is wasted. They're always good and bad to everything. Just like most food chains in food chains on Earth, this underground chain starts with plants and the microbes that help them grow. So that will take us to the end of this section, and I'll see you in a few minutes on the other section where we have going into the definition of each word. Thank you. Bye.